Welcome to the Science of Hockey, the podcast where we break down the science behind ice hockey. I'm the analyst, your host, and every week we explore the data, research, and evidence that shape how we play, train, and understand the game of hockey. From biomechanics to performance psychology, we take you beyond the rink and into the research lab, giving you insights that go beyond hearsay and into what really makes the difference on the ice. Whether you're a player, a coach, a parent, or just someone passionate about the sport, we're here to bring you scientifically backed information in a language that's friendly and easy to understand. So grab your skates and let's dive into the science of hockey. Welcome to the Science of Hockey, where we dissect the details behind the game. I'm your host, the analyst. Today, we explore how rest intervals affect sprint skating in ice hockey. Should players rest for 2 or 3 minutes to maximize performance? Find out in this episode.
Ever wonder how pro hockey players maintain that explosive energy, all game long? Today we're going behind the scenes to unpack the science of stamina on the ice.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? The speed, the agility, the constant bursts of energy. And we've got some really interesting research to dig into today.
We're diving deep into a 2022 study from the Journal of Human Kinetics, where researchers looked at how rest intervals impact performance. They worked with 24 pro hockey players in Poland, real-world data, not just theory.
And they focused on 2 key positions, forwards and defensemen. Right away, they noticed some physical differences. Defensemen tend to be heavier, which makes sense given their role. They need that extra bulk for those battles in front of the net.
So bigger guys, tougher role. You'd think they'd need more recovery time, right? Well, the researchers put that to the test, and the results might surprise you.
They used a test called the Repeated Sprint Skating Ability Test, or RSSA for short. It involved a series of 80-meter sprints. Imagine quick changes in direction, bursts of speed, just like in a real game. These guys were really put through their paces.
And they had them do these sprints with 2 different rest intervals, 2 minutes between sets, and then 3 minutes between sets. So just 1 extra minute of recovery.
And that 1 minute made a huge difference. Both forwards and defensemen were significantly faster in the trials with the 3-minute rest intervals.
So even at the pro level, that extra bit of rest can be a game changer. But here's where it gets really interesting. They also found that forwards were generally faster than defensemen, which, okay, we might expect that. But the difference was most noticeable in the test with the shorter rest time.
Exactly. It raises some interesting questions about how different positions and different body types might recover from those intense bursts of activity.
Okay, but they didn't just measure speed. They also looked at things like heart rate and blood lactate levels. That's the stuff that builds up in your muscles when you're working really hard, like during a game.
They wanted to see how the players' bodies were responding to that exertion. And the results were really in line with what you'd see in a competitive game.
Now, you'd think the heavier defensemen would have their hearts working harder, right? But the study actually found no significant difference in heart rate between forwards and defensemen.
It's surprising, isn't it? It seems their cardiovascular systems are working similarly hard during those sprints, despite the differences in size and position.
So their hearts are working equally hard, but what about how the players felt? For that, they used something called the rate of perceived exertion, or RPE. Basically, how hard did they feel they were working?
And here's where we see a difference between the groups. The defensemen consistently reported feeling more exerted than the forwards, even though their heart rates were similar.
So even though their bodies were working at a similar level, the defensemen felt like they were pushing harder.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. It really highlights how much mental toughness factors into performance. You could be physically capable, but if you feel exhausted, it's going to impact your game.
Absolutely. The mental game is just as crucial as the physical one. And this study actually opens up some interesting questions about different types of recovery.
Because in this study, they were just looking at passive recovery, standing or sitting still between those sprints. But what if they looked at active recovery?
Exactly. What if instead of just resting those players, had done some light jogging, stretching, or even specific drills designed for recovery? Could that lead to even better performance in later sets? And could it maybe even reduce that difference in perceived exertion between positions?
That's a great point. I wonder if the type of active recovery would matter too. Like, would light jogging be more beneficial than those specific drills? So many possibilities.
And this goes way beyond just hockey, too. Think about any sport with those quick bursts of energy basketball, soccer, tennis, even sprinting. Understanding how different recovery strategies impact performance, both physically and mentally, could be huge for athletes.
Okay, so we've learned about the importance of rest and different types of recovery, but let's bring it back to our listener. What does this all mean for them, even if they're not a pro athlete?
Well, we all have those times where we're pushing ourselves right. Deadlines at work, tough workouts, even just a busy day running errands. Just like those hockey players, we need time to recover and recharge, both physically and mentally.
And it's not just about taking any break. It's about taking the right kind of break. Instead of just scrolling through your phone, maybe you take a quick walk, do some stretches, or listen to some calming music. Find what helps you reset.
That's such a key takeaway.
Yeah.
Recovery isn't a sign of weakness. It's essential for performance, whether you're on the ice or just going about your day.
Exactly. Understanding the science behind it can help all of us make smarter choices to manage our energy, be more productive, and just feel better overall.
And sometimes, that extra minute of rest, that intentional shift in activity, can be the difference between just getting through the day and really thriving.
So next time you see those hockey players flying across the ice, just picture those intense sprints, those split-second decisions.
Yeah, and remember there's a whole world of science behind their performance. Science that applies to all of us, whether we're athletes or not.
We all need to pay attention to rest and recovery, understand our limits. It's how we reach our full potential on and off the ice.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance between pushing ourselves and giving ourselves what we need to recharge.
And maybe, just maybe, that extra minute of rest, that intentional shift in activity is the secret to not just surviving, but truly thriving.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the science of stamina.
And we'll catch you next time for another deep dive.
Thanks for tuning in to the Science of Hockey. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share it with your friends, teammates, or anyone who loves hockey as much as you do. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment to let us know what you liked, what you'd like to hear next, or any questions you have. Your feedback helps us make the show even better. Until next time, keep your skates sharp, your mind open, and keep chasing the science behind the game.